Welcome to the Mortgage Note podcast. My name is Kimberley Haas. Today we're sitting down with Jim Clapp. He's the Chief Lending Officer at Assurance Financial. How are you today, Jim?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, first of all, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I've been at Assurance about 16 months now. And prior to Assurance, I was the president and CFO of a company called Certainty Home Loans, which was another independent mortgage bank. And I was there for 15 years. And prior to that, I was lending money. I was in the warehouse lending space, and Certainty was a customer of mine. And in 2009, the mortgage market was in a bit of turmoil. So I was approached by Certainty to come over and become the CFO at the time, and then ultimately became the president of that. So that's how I ended up in the space. I was a commercial banker, lending money to mortgage banks, and then became a mortgage banker myself. And then Certainty went through a series of transactions, ultimately was acquired by a much larger entity, at which time it was clear to me it was, time to sort of seek other opportunities. And so I had known Kenny and Steve at Assurance, and I'd always admired the company from afar, and had a conversation, and then ultimately resulted in me coming over and, in the chief lending officer role, which primarily means I'm involved in running the production side and heavily involved in recruiting, and really with a stated goal of helping Assurance grow their footprint and their platform. So we've been having a ton of fun doing that the last 16 months, and have grown the company quite a bit. And so that's kind of my background.
Awesome. So when you say you've grown the company quite a bit in 16 months, that can mean a variety of different things depending upon the company and its objectives. How has Assurance grown since you started there?
Well, I guess most basically, we've added about 35 to 40 new loan officers to the company.
Wow.
And, that's a number of branches and existing loan officers and all that. So that, and it's at the most basic level is the growth. So we've grown the annual production volume by, 250 million with probably, more on tap with this year. And then we've successfully added a new line of business, which is kind of a mini correspondent channel, a little different from our traditional retail, distributed retail, where we have loan officers and branches. This is working with small to regional banks and community banks to take over their mortgage fulfillment and deliver their loans in the secondary market. So that's been a new channel we added about halfway through 2025, and have several new prospects, and see that as another growth pillar for the company to diversify out of just distributed retail and get into this money correspondent and serve what we see as a big opportunity in the market, where these banks are doing mortgage banking, but they don't have scale and size, and it's difficult for them to operate profitably and be fully invested in mortgage banks. And we're kind of a turnkey solution. They can keep their loan officers. We do all the blocking and tackling and the fulfillment, and ultimately deliver the loans into the secondary market. So it enables them to streamline their operation, reduce expenses, but still remain as an option for their customer base to deliver mortgage banking solutions.
Now, streamlining and modernization are two huge conversations in the mortgage world right now, independently and together. Another thing that is coming up and has been coming up time and time again when it comes to streamlining and modernization is artificial intelligence. Tell us a little bit of how AI is being implemented there to enhance the consumer experience and also enhance the experience for these LOs that are joining your team.
Sure. Yeah, we've got several initiatives working. The first one actually even predates me, which was The first bot that Assurance put in place was put in place a couple years ago on the post-closing function, reconciling purchase advices. So that was our first little dipping our toe in the water. And then in the last year, it's accelerated as the automation and the AI sort of applicability has really blossomed. So one of the bigger ones is we went into a pilot with our CRM, and it's a agentic AI bot that's calling on leads. And from our servicing portfolio, we have 12,500 servicing customers that we service their loans. And so when we get a notice that perhaps these people are maybe listing their house, or their credit's improved, or their credit's been pulled, the bot immediately puts a call out to that customer and tries to connect them with one of our loan officers. And so that's been very successful at engaging customers in discussions and hooking them up with our live loan officers. So it's fast, it's consistent, and it really has been a win-win for not only the company, but for loan officers, and helping us retain those servicing portfolio customers and getting to them perhaps before our competitors get to them.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we've also are using AI, really, I'd say, kind of behind the curtain in our fulfillment cycle. So we have AI reviewing our appraisals now. We're in discussion with an entity that really is taking a look at our entire fulfillment process, and modernizing that is the term, which is machine learning, automation, and a little bit of AI. I think AI is frequently maybe mischaracterized, and automation is not necessarily AI. AI is sort of this whole sort of different thing where it's making decisions and using a little bit of artificial intelligence. Automation is also something that's, I guess it's adjacent to AI, but I think a lot of times it all gets lumped into the same category. But the point is that mortgage companies for 50 years have kind of used the same process to get a loan from the origination to the post-closing. And I would characterize that as a train station sort of analogy, where the loan goes from one station to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and each station's waiting on the previous station to promote the loan to them. And so while that worked, with the technology today, that is being turned on its head. So we're squarely involved in that, and rolling up our sleeves and looking for ways to embrace automation so that the file is really never sitting dormant in the station. So, with automation AI, that means you can take advantage of a 24-hour work cycle, because, bots you don't have to pay them overtime. You don't have to do things. All the automation can be running anytime something happens on that file. So ultimately what that means is you're shaving off the fulfillment cycle, which is hopefully improving the customer satisfaction. It's enabling your people to do more, and it's enabling loan officers to focus more on what you pay a loan officer to do. That's in bringing in new business to the company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you were talking about the AI bot calling all those leads, I was just thinking of the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of leads that could potentially be used, for any number of purposes when it comes to origination or refinance. And just having a person do that would take so many hours, but these bots are pretty incredible. And like you said, they can be working on files 24/7 and allowing loan officers to do what they do best, which is work with people and help them, get what they're looking for financially when it comes to their home mortgage or whatever it may be.
Yes, 100%. It's exciting. There's obviously regulatory concerns that you have to be aware of, and it's also you have to have a human in the loop, which is a terminology that you hear more and more. Which is, in this this phrase, I heard it probably last year, and it can take many forms, but the phrase is that AI won't replace humans, but humans using AI will replace those that don't use AI. So you could take that to a company basis and say that AI won't replace companies, but companies using AI will replace those that won't. So that's kind of our philosophy, is that, look, we're not looking to eliminate our staff. We're looking to help our staff be more productive and scalable. And ultimately, if it all worked out, I'd hope that we could increase our volume 30, 40, 50, 100%, but really keep our staffing ultimately the same, because I've utilized that automation and the efficiency and enabled my people. A process that might be doing 30 loans can now do 60 loans. An underwriter that can underwrite 70 loans can underwrite 100 to 150. So that's kind of our philosophy, is that we're not here to replace any of our humans. It's just to make our humans, our workers, more efficient, and take out the stare and compare and the place and chase aspects of their jobs, and put them in more relationship building and judgment type situations, and leave the other stuff to a bot or an automated machine learning task that can free them up to do more productive things.
Exactly. Building those relationships
Yes.
with those people that they're working with, because that's what humans are good at, right? And machines are just incredible, and you have to have a lot of respect for the people who create this technology that all of us can benefit from in all of our different fields. Now, it's when you were talking about some of this stuff, you sounded really excited, Jim, but I'm sure there's many things that you're looking forward to here in 2026 and beyond. What's pumping you up for 2026?
I think embracing all this automation efficiency with a little bit of increased volume, I think is exciting. And I think the idea of how we harness AI and make it a better experience for our customers, and our referral partners, but ultimately our employees, is an exciting venture.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Jim. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
I appreciate it. It's been great, and happy to do it anytime.
Awesome. And thank you, everybody at home, for listening to the Mortgage Note podcast. We have been speaking with Jim Clapp. He is the Chief Lending Officer at Assurance Financial. My name is Kimberley Haas. Have a great day.